27-year-old Christina Laureen Willis of Batesville, Mississippi was arrested in August of 2025 following an investigation involving local, state, and federal authorities. On June the 20th, deputies from the Lafayette County Sheriff's Office responded to reports of a suspicious package found on a vehicle in the southwestern part of the county. 3 days later, the Tupelo Bomb Squad and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives confirmed that the package contained a homemade explosive device. The bomb was rendered safe by technicians in a secure area in the aftermath. In a post explaining the process, county law enforcement wrote, "This was done by detonating the device. If you just heard a loud boom, that was it." During the weeks that followed, investigators combed through physical, digital, and forensic evidence, ultimately identifying Willis as a suspect and executing a search warrant at her home. The authorities found evidence of bomb-making materials, homemade high-explosive substances, firearms, and narcotics. Another live explosive device was allegedly found inside the home and safely detonated at the scene. Willis's reasons for planting the bomb remained unclear, but the victim was identified as her ex-boyfriend. She was indicted for attempted murder, planting a bomb or explosive device, and conspiracy to commit a felony. As of September updates, Willis's current boyfriend, 48-year-old Mark Edward Montgomery, was also indicted in the plot. Number 12. Robert Roden. Long Island man Robert Roden was caught with a suspicious backpack while trying to make his way into Stony Brook University Hospital in New York in June of 2020. He was accompanied by his live-in partner, who needed medical attention, and the security guard raised the alarm after noticing the man's backpack and the camouflage-patterned tactical vest he was wearing. The worker called University Police, who in turn raised the alarm with the Suffolk County Police Department. Following a search, Roden was found to be carrying a BB gun in his waistband and loaded ammunition magazines in the tactical vest, as well as a hatchet and handcuffs in the backpack. The police also discovered 3 objects that could potentially be energized and explode. Reports indicated that the devices were about the size of a grenade with a fuse. 2 floors of the hospital were evacuated and the bomb squad and canine units arrived at the scene. Roden's intentions with the small arsenal were unclear, but he made no threats at the hospital. Aside from local police, the FBI and ATF were involved in the ensuing investigation. At the 33-year-old's home, the police found more homemade bombs. As of the latest updates on the case, he was held on a bond of $1 million and charged with second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, second-degree criminal contempt, and 2 counts of third-degree criminal possession of a controlled substance. Number 11. Tetsuya Yamagami. On the morning of July the 8th of 2022, former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was delivering a speech at the Yamato Saidaiji Station in Nara. Abe, a leading member of the Liberal Democratic Party, was the longest-serving prime minister in the country's history, with 2 terms totaling 9 years. As Abe was giving the speech, which was for a fellow party member's council campaign, 41-year-old Tetsuya Yamagami slipped past his bodyguards and got within several feet of him. Photos of Yamagami that were taken at the scene showed him holding a crudely designed homemade shotgun. He took aim at Abe from behind and fired 1 shot that missed. As the former prime minister turned around, Yamagami fired a second shot that hit him in the neck and chest area. Abe collapsed and was airlifted to a local hospital in critical condition. He died later that afternoon, roughly 5 hours after he'd been shot. Yamagami didn't resist as he was detained initially by Abe's security detail and then by the police. During the investigation that followed, it emerged that the assassin, a former military man who'd served with the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, held a long-standing grudge against the Unification Church. The religious organization was widely described as a cult, with a presence in over 100 countries, and had been accused of coercing members into making excessive financial donations, sometimes referred to as spiritual sales. Yamagami's mother had given a fortune to the church since joining it in the early 1990s, leaving Yamagami and his siblings so destitute that they struggled to eat. Yamagami at one point posted on Twitter that he was willing to die to liberate every person involved in the Unification Church. The man stalked church leader Hak Ja-han, but found it too difficult to get to her. He ultimately decided to go after Abe due to his connection to the church and his past praise of Han Yamagami planned the assassination for months and built the weapon used in the attack. It looked like 2 water supply pipes taped together on a wooden board above a hand grip, also wrapped in tape, and it was powered by a battery which ignited the gunpowder with electric current. The homemade gun was extremely effective from multiple considerations. It was similar to a shotgun, capable of firing 6 pellets at a time. The sound of the improvised firearm was different from that of a typical gun, which resulted in a delayed reaction from Abe's bodyguards after the first shot. Yamagami faced a plethora of charges and the possibility of capital punishment, with his trial scheduled for late October of 2025. A number of commentators described him as one of the most effective political assassins in history, as his actions brought the Unification Church under scrutiny, culminating with Han's arrest in September of 2025. It also resulted in a drop of approval for the Japanese Liberal Democratic Party. Yamagami became an icon, domestically and abroad, most notably in China due to Abe's historical negotiationism of Japanese war crimes committed against the Chinese. Since the murder, Yamagami's family received a considerable amount of gift money and presents, like food, clothes, and books, via online gifting websites from his supporters. Number 10. Michael Gann. In May of 2025, Long Island man Michael Gann placed online orders for 200 cardboard tubes and over 50 feet worth of fuses, along with 2 pounds of potassium perchlorate and approximately 1 pound of aluminium powder. With the help of AI, he combined the materials and made at least 7 improvised explosive devices, which he reportedly intended to use in Manhattan's Soho area. Gann would later be quoted as saying that using artificial intelligence to create the bombs was easier than buying gunpowder. One of the devices contained roughly 30 grams of explosive material, which was about 600 times the legal limit for consumer fireworks. The 55-year-old stored some of the IEDs on a rooftop in Soho, along with shotgun shells to be used in the detonation process. 2 witnesses, one of whom was a military veteran, became aware of Gann's plans and raised the alarm with law enforcement. One of the witnesses got on calls with Gann while the FBI was monitoring the conversation. The bomb maker said that he tested one of the devices by detonating it near the East River and that it scared him. He claimed that he was considering disposing of the IEDs in the river or turning them over to the authorities. Gann eventually threw 3 devices from the Manhattan side of the Williamsburg Bridge. 2 landed in the water and a 3rd on the subway tracks, endangering countless lives. On June the 5th of 2025, law enforcement spotted Gann walking through Soho with a duffel bag on his shoulder and arrested him. One of the IEDs was found in his possession, and he stated that he was on his way to turn it in while also falsely claiming that he'd disposed of all the others. The Inwood resident was arrested for attempted destruction of property by means of explosives, 1 count of transportation of explosive materials, and 1 count of unlawful possession of destructive devices. He faced a maximum possible sentence of 40 years behind bars. Gann's media posts and internet searches seemingly confirmed his nefarious intentions. Hours before he was caught with the bomb on him, he'd posted, "Who wants me to go out to play like no tomorrow?" Past posts included a March message on X to President Donald Trump in which he complained about protests and riotation in New York City, stating, "Would you just drop a bomb on this place while," and because they seem to be coming. His online searches included chlorine bomb, how to make flash powder from household items, and what to mix with potassium perchlorate to make flash powder. Number 9. Andres Navarro. A suspicious device was found near the home of an elected official on June the 14th of 2022 in the Willow Glen neighborhood of San Jose, California. The authorities were called and the item was confirmed as a functional homemade destructive device. The bomb was seized and disabled by technicians. The official wasn't identified by law enforcement, but the media reported that the home belonged to San Jose City Councilwoman Devora Davis. She said at the time that she had no idea why someone would target her beyond political differences of opinion. Davis stated, "I think there's a way to be civil and to disagree in a civil manner, and it doesn't have to be violent." An investigation was launched, and 18 months later, the police arrested 33-year-old San Jose man Andres Navarro. Detectives searched his home and found a field guide for improvised explosives, but his reason for planting the bomb near Davis's address remained unclear. Number 8. Michael Harper. In February of 2021, the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office in California received a call from someone asking for an ambulance. Upon arrival, they found that 46-year-old Michael Harper had suffered injuries after a homemade explosive device, which he'd created, had gone off in his hands. He was taken to the hospital and law enforcement searched his home, whereupon they found at least 8 homemade explosives consisting of pipe bombs and pyrotechnics. Surrounding neighbors were evacuated as technicians dealt with the devices, which were rendered safe in the aftermath. The degree of Harper's injuries wasn't revealed, but he was arrested after receiving surgery and charged with several counts of reckless possession of a destructive device. He immediately asked for a lawyer and offered no further information on what he was planning to do with the bombs. "He's not all that good at what he does if he's blowing himself up," said FBI agent Rick Smith. When asked if making explosives was a normal hobby to have, Smith told a media outlet, "There's very few people that do it just for the heck of it," adding that law enforcement would treat Harper's activity as suspicious, highlighting there must be some other reason or motivation or goal in making the bomb. Number 7. Skyler Philippi. In early November of 2024, Skyler Philippi, a 24-year-old man from Columbia, Tennessee, was arrested for planning to blow up a power plant to further his extremist ideology. The man was previously affiliated with white supremacist and neo-Nazi organizations such as the Atomwaffen Division and the National Alliance. The groups were known to target journalists, government and infrastructure, as well as racial minorities, the Jewish community, and the LGBTQ+ community. In June of 2024, Philippi told an individual who subsequently became an informant for law enforcement about his plan to shock the system by attacking power plants with explosives attached to a drone. Philippi wrote a manifesto in which he expressed an intention to target high-tax cities or industrial areas to let the lose money, referencing Jewish people with a derogatory tone. Once the authorities became aware, undercover agents infiltrated the plot. Philippi decided to build the drone himself with a 3D printer to avoid detection by law enforcement. Philippi targeted a substation in Nashville, and in September of 2024, he was joined by undercover agents when he conducted on-site surveillance. He planned to attach triacetone triperoxide, a high-energy explosive material, or C4 explosive material, to the drone, which he would then fly into the substation. He noticed flammable points at the facility, claiming it would go up like effing 4th of July fireworks. Philippi also handled operational security, instructing the agents to wear disguises, gloves, and leave their phones behind on the night of the planned attack. They were to rent a Toyota Prius to blend into the neighborhood from where the drone would be launched. On November the 2nd of 2024, Philippi met the undercover agents at a hotel where they participated in a Nordic ritual, which included reciting a Nordic prayer and discussing the Norse god Odin. One of the agents supplied Philippi with inactive C4 and they headed to the drone takeoff spot. Philippi was arrested just as he was attaching explosives to the UAV. He was charged with attempted use of a weapon of mass destruction and attempted destruction of an energy facility, facing a maximum sentence of life behind bars. Updates from September of 2025 indicated that he pleaded guilty to both charges and was awaiting sentencing. Number 6. Adam Mahmood. In April of 2024, Adam Mahmood was arrested at his home in Sheldon, Birmingham, on suspicion of disseminating terrorist material online. The 20-year-old's phone was seized and examined, whereupon law enforcement found a 15-minute tutorial on how to make a complete bomb. The end result would have been a device similar to others used in terror attacks in the UK. It involves producing an explosive substance with a detonator and shrapnel. Mahmood had other extremist videos on his phone, including propaganda and executions. He'd requested the instructional bomb video from a TikTok user via Telegram in the fall of 2023 and had last accessed it in March of 2024. Detective Chief Superintendent Alison Hurst, who led counter-terrorism policing in the West Midlands, said that the guide was easy to follow, even for someone with no previous training in explosive manufacturing, and therefore incredibly dangerous in the wrong hands. At his address, Mahmood had combat knives and a homemade sword that was built from parts. In September of 2025, he was found guilty of possessing a recording likely to be useful to a person committing or preparing an act of terrorism. His sentencing was scheduled for November the 19th of 2025, and he was was reportedly facing a term measured in years, not months. Number 5. David Biddell-Portman. Law enforcement in Birmingham, England, made a routine visit to the home of David Biddell-Portman after the man had legally purchased a blank firing pistol and 50 rounds of 8mm of ammunition in December of 2020. He was not at the address, but a relative led officers onto the premises. Inside a wardrobe in Biddell-Portman's bedroom, the police found 2 homemade assault rifles. Then, from an upstairs cupboard, the police recovered a 3D printer that had been used to make the rifles, a toolbox, bullets, metal gun parts and other 3D printed weapon components were found in a shed. Detectives determined that the rifles were made from plastic via the printer with steel added for key components. Detective Inspector Lisa Jackson said, "This is the first time we recovered a 3D printed firearm in the West Midlands. The rifles were tested and proved capable of firing live ammunition." 30-year-old Biddell-Portman eventually admitted 2 charges of manufacturing a firearm. In June of 2023, he was jailed for 5 years at Birmingham Crown Court. Number 4. Billy Price. Welshman Billy Price was feuding with a neighbor over loud music. On August the 20th of 2023, he was captured on surveillance footage, storming out of his Newport home shirtless with a shotgun in hand. He chased after another man while pointing the rifle at him. An emergency call was placed and officers arrived at the scene equipped in tactical gear and armed with rifles. Body cam footage showed them being approached by a man who said, "I've had a phone call saying a guy got a rifle on my brother. I've just gone to his flat and haven't got any answers." Minutes later, cops handcuffed Price, who admitted to owning the aforementioned shotgun. When law enforcement searched his home, they found a small arsenal consisting, among others, of a flail, a sword, a hatchet, and 3 homemade petrol bombs. The later devices were made out of jars filled with petrol, and one of them appeared to have a wick made from torn underwear. When he was questioned at the station in the aftermath, Price had a casually callous attitude as he laid back with his legs outstretched across 2 chairs and his palms interlocked behind his head. In reference to the items found in his home, an officer asked, "There's nothing in there that's going to cause an explosion?" To which he replied, "Well, why don't you send the army to find out?" During the legal proceedings that followed, Price admitted to possessing a prohibited firearm and possessing a firearm with intent to cause fear of violence, but denied possessing explosives. He claimed at Cardiff Crown Court that he was using the jars to store petrol after a jerry can broke. His defense argued that the man, whom the media described as a weapons nut, had a fascination with firearms and explosives but didn't plan to use them. Towards that end, Price's lawyer pointed to his largely non-violent criminal history and the fact that the shotgun was aimed but not fired. Price was eventually found guilty of possessing explosives as well. In June of 2024, the 46-year-old was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment and a 4-year extended license period. After sentencing, Gwent Police Detective Chief Inspector Matthew Edwards said, "Price is a dangerous man who has an infatuation with weapons and a blasé attitude." Number 3. Mohammed Farooq.
I'm police officers, okay? What I need you to do is follow my instructions very carefully, okay? Good, just keep your hands there, alright? Have you got anything on your person that I need to know about? Okay.
Yeah, there's a bag there, it's got a bomb in it.
What's in it?
The bomb inside.
It's a bomb inside of it?
But it's not live, it's not live.
It's not what?
It's
a
not
bomb
live.
inside it, but it's not live. What is it? What's it made from?
On January the 20th of 2023, Mohammed Farooq, who was at the time in his late 20s, plotted to detonate a homemade bomb at the American base at RAF Menwith Hill in North Yorkshire, England. He failed to get on the premises due to high security and opted for a secondary target, the St James's Hospital in Leeds, where he worked as a nurse assistant. Farooq was captured on CCTV in the reception area ahead of the planned attack. On January the 20th, he sent a message to a nurse who he thought was working that night, telling her that there was a bomb in the maternity ward. His intention wasn't to raise the alarm with the aim of saving lives, but to trigger an evacuation into the parking lot where he'd planted the bomb. He expected crowding in the area and planned to kill as many nurses as possible. But the text wasn't seen for nearly an hour and the evacuation didn't happen. The bomb was modeled after the devices detonated at the 2013 Boston Marathon. Farooq's bomb was, however, at least twice as powerful and loaded with over 22 pounds of explosives. Farooq was spotted and approached by Nathan Newby, a patient at the hospital who was having a cigarette outside. The would-be terrorist told Newby about his plans to carry out a mass killing. Newby engaged and talked with him for about 2 hours, ultimately persuading him to abandon detonating the device. The Good Samaritan called the authorities and Farooq was captured on body cam, clearly telling a responding officer, "There's a bag there. and it's got a bomb in it. He said that the bomb wasn't live, and when asked what it contained, he simply replied, gunpowder. The authorities found that the explosive device was viable and capable of causing massive destruction. Farooq was arrested, and an investigation revealed that he'd become self-radicalized through accessing extremist material online and had obtained bomb-making instructions in a magazine published by Al-Qaeda. During the legal proceedings that followed, he was described as having autism spectrum disorder. An examination of his electronic devices indicated a dual motive, him seeking martyrdom while also harboring a hatred towards his colleagues at work. In March of 2025, Farooq was jailed for life with a minimum of 37 years. Newby's heroic intervention was widely praised as saving many lives, and he received the George Medal for bravery. The Sheffield Crown Court judge described him as an extraordinary, ordinary man whose decency and kindness prevented an atrocity, adding that his evidence was among the most remarkable this court has ever heard. Number 2. Frank Trout. On January the 31st of 2022, Frank Trout accidentally blew himself up with a homemade bomb outside the Live Oak High School in Antioch, California. He died in the blast, and later that day, law enforcement was seen on cell phone footage using an explosive charge to breach his home, which was located a few blocks away. The explosion was so powerful that the windows were shattered and the front door was launched on the lawn. The subsequent investigation revealed that the 63-year-old had a history with making explosives at the address, and that he'd survived a nearly identical incident in 2012. In December of that year, he was making a pipe bomb when it went off. He took himself to the Sutter Delta Medical Center with burns to his hands and face. Trout admitted that he'd sustained the injuries while making an explosive device and was arrested with his face bearing burn marks in his mugshot. Multiple pipe bombs were recovered from the address at the time, and Trout was convicted in connection with the incident. The authorities didn't comment on when or how he went back to bomb making, and it also remained unclear what he planned to do with the devices. Trout lived by himself, with neighbors and relatives maintaining that he was never a threat to anyone. Number 1. Larry Eugene Phillips Jr. and Emil Mătăsăreanu. By the mid-1990s, Larry Eugene Phillips Jr. and Romanian national Emil Mătăsăreanu had become known to law enforcement in the US, particularly in the California area, as the high-incident bandits. The moniker came from the choice of powerful automatic weaponry they'd used during a series of daring raids. In 1993, the men had robbed an armored car in Colorado, and in 1995 they went after another armored car in Winnetka, Los Angeles, killing one guard and seriously injuring another. The following year, the duo robbed 2 Bank of America branches, stealing roughly $1.5 million. Then on February the 28th of 1997, Phillips and Mătăsăreanu, each armed with a Norinco Type 56 rifle, entered the Bank of America branch at 6600 Laurel Canyon Boulevard in North Hollywood. They immediately fired rifles into the air to intimidate the 30 people that were inside, including customers and tellers, with 27-year-old Phillips shouting, "This is a hold-up." 33-year-old Mătăsăreanu then shot through a bulletproof door, which was only designed to withstand small weapons fire, gaining access to the tellers and vault. Upon learning that due to a change in delivery schedule, the bank held less money than the robbers expected, an enraged Mătăsăreanu unloaded an entire 75-round drum magazine into a safe, destroying some of the money inside. The duo locked the hostages inside the vault and made off with roughly $303,000. Prior to the robbery, they'd used a radio scanner to monitor police transmission and had set their watches to 8 minutes, the time frame they'd expected for the police response. However, Mătăsăreanu and Phillips had been spotted walking into the bank by an LAPD patrol car, and a call for a possible 211 in progress had been issued. Within minutes, multiple police units arrived and set up a perimeter outside the bank, effectively trapping the robbers. When the duo emerged, a gun battle ensued, and it escalated into the most violent bank shootout in US history, and a landmark moment for changes to police equipment. Phillips exited through the north doorway and unleashed full automatic fire for several minutes, hitting officers, civilians, cars, and infrastructure. Phillips also shot at an LAPD helicopter, which was forced to retreat to a safe distance. Mătăsăreanu left the bank through the south doorway. With news helicopters flying overhead and recording the battle, the robbers continued to move to cover positions and engage the officers, firing sporadic bursts into the patrol cars that had been positioned on Laurel Canyon in front of the bank and in the parking lot across the street. The officers found themselves grossly outmatched. The crux of the robbers' superiority was complex, home-designed body armor and an arsenal of weapons, some of which were modified for full automatic fire. Phillips wore a Type 3A bulletproof vest and a groin guard, along with pieces of spare armor affixed to thighs, shins, and forearms. He carried additional parts of armor for side protection. His full suit weighed around 40 pounds. Mătăsăreanu wore a similar bulletproof vest and included a metal ballistic plate to reinforce protection. At the time, officers were mostly armed with then standard-issue Beretta 9mm pistols, Smith & Wesson model .38 revolvers, and 12-gauge Ithaca pump-action shotguns. A number of the rounds they fired hit the robbers but failed to penetrate their protective gear. Among other weapons, Phillips and Mătăsăreanu were equipped with a Bushmaster XM15 E2S dissipator converted illegally to fire full auto with 2 100-round magazines and 3 different civilian model Norinco Type 56S rifles converted illegally to fire full auto with several 75 to 100 round drum magazines and 30-round box magazines. Law enforcement found it extremely difficult to aim shots at the robbers' unprotected heads as they were pinned down by the constant barrage of automatic fire. At some point, desperate to gain an edge in the gunfight, 3 officers acquired 5 AR-15 style rifles from a nearby gun store to combat the robbers. 18 minutes after the shooting had begun, SWAT arrived at the scene armed with AR-15 rifles. The tactical unit commandeered an armored car, which they then used to extract officers and civilians from the scene. More than half an hour into the battle, Phillips and Mătăsăreanu tried to escape in their Chevrolet Celebrity getaway car. They eventually became separated in the chaos of officers constantly shooting at them, and Phillips experienced a weapon jam. Phillips was eventually pinned down by law enforcement gunfire and killed after a bullet severed his spine. Mătăsăreanu drove off as a hail of bullets fell upon the Chevrolet, but he didn't make it far. While in the getaway car, he was injured in the right buttock and left forearm several times by combined pistol and shotgun fire. By 9:56 a.m., 3 of the vehicle's tires were shot out and the windows were covered in bullet holes. After an unsuccessful carjacking attempt of a Jeep Gladiator, Mătăsăreanu was reached by a patrol car driven by SWAT officers. They parked opposite the disabled Chevrolet, behind which Mătăsăreanu took cover. News helicopters would capture him engaging the officers in nearly 3 minutes of almost uninterrupted gunfire. At some point, the ballistic plate in Mătăsăreanu's chest armor deflected a double shot from a SWAT officer's AR-15. The robber was briefly winded but resumed shooting at the cops. The SWAT team eventually aimed shots at Mătăsăreanu's unprotected lower legs, hitting him 29 times. He tried to surrender but bled to death from 2 bullet wounds to the thigh before an ambulance was allowed to reach him. 70 minutes later, the delay was due to the area being considered a hot zone, and Mătăsăreanu still dangerous as he continued cursing out the police and daring them to shoot him. The massive gunfight, which is remembered as the Battle of North Hollywood, unfolded over the course of 44 minutes. Phillips and Mătăsăreanu fired at least 1,100 shots, roughly around every 2 seconds, while the police responded with 650 shots. No police or civilian casualties were reported, but 12 officers were injured, along with 8 members of the public, in addition to extensive damage inflicted on vehicles and other property. In the aftermath, the Los Angeles Police Department and other departments across the U.S. re-evaluated patrol police armaments and tactics. They adopted more powerful rifles, began equipping some cruisers with Kevlar plating, and changed protocols for handling heavily armed suspects. Thanks for watching. Assuming no equipment would ever be required, would you rather be able to breathe underwater or see in the dark? Let us know in the comments section below.